Zurich is the largest city in Switzerland and is located in the Eastern Midlands on the Limmat, the outflow of Lake Zurich. Its origins were set in the Roman base of Turicum, which had been a free imperial city since 1263 and member of the Swiss Confederation since 1351. Grüezi Zurich. We begin our exploration in the Dörfli, located on the right of the River Limmat, the old town of this small but fine metropolis. Narrow alleys and many cafes form this popular artist and scenic district. For more than 100 years, poets and philosophers have been drinking and debating here. From Albert Einstein to Stefan Zweig, from Karl Kraus to Franz Werfel, and Lenin, Trotsky and Mussolini. Well-maintained medieval buildings form the village side of the noble town. It's a district of the town that was built in the 12th century. Once oil lamps illuminated this modest area, and numerous oriels were a mark of the citizens' prosperity. The monastery church dates back to the 13th century. It was the Dominicans who settled in Zurich as the first order of mendicants. The nave is considered to be one of the most beautiful Gothic buildings in the region. Following secularization, decorated in snow-white early Baroque stucco. The river Limmat divides the old town into two parts, which are connected by the Munster Bridge. Already in ancient times, the river formed an important traffic connection. Grossmünster, water church, town hall and representative guild houses form the right bank. The left bank is dominated by the Tannhäuser, Fraumünster Church and St. Peter's Church. Tourist boats sail the river all year round. They lead visitors past the most beautiful sights of the old town. When the old town hall was built, the various guilds built their corresponding guild houses, each profession being represented. In around 1745, the upper classes met in the stylish surroundings of superb properties. Each guild had its own coat of arms and unique facade. At the beginning of the 16th century, Grossmünster became the starting point of the German-Swiss Reformation with Zwingli and Bullinger. The view of the old town and Lake Zurich from one of the two twin towers is overwhelming. On the left of Limmat Quay is the older section of the divided city. The riverside promenade subsequently developed into leisure zones for young and old. Here, near the mouth of the Limmat into Lake Zurich, there are landing stages for boatmen and restaurants with summer gardens. This idyllic site hardly suggests the close proximity of the city's financial world. There are also well-preserved old river baths in the middle of the city, and a partly adjoining section at the mouth of the river. The historic Frauenbade was built in 1888 in Swiss timber style, has Moorish turrets and a freestanding swimming pool in the river. The view from here to the opposite right bank of the river is impressive. But Stadthaus and Fraumünster already lure one into the older part of the town. The church monastery was inhabited since 853 AD by women of the South German high nobility. The small square in front of the church still reveals some of the intimacy of the Middle Ages, where people sought shelter. Nearly next door, but already slightly elevated, rises the St. Peter Church, the oldest church in the city. In front of it is a small square framed by buildings, from where the tower clock and the largest dials in Europe can be seen. Here is the city's first reformed church building, a Baroque gallery hall where today visitors can see each other vis-à-vis. High above the Limmat rises the germ cell of the city, the Lindenhof. Remnants of the Roman fort were excavated on this hill. And the view over the city and the river is overwhelming. Augustinergasse leads to Bahnhofstrasse. Craftsmen lived here since 1445, and from the 17th century on, factory owners settled here. The historic buildings with their colourfully painted bay windows are still impressive today. Probably the most elegant station street in the world is Zurich's 5th Avenue. Until 150 years ago, before the main station was built, it was a filthy cloaca. Following the French model, a boulevard was built where the largest banks have their headquarters and where traffic pulsates almost around the clock. Here gold is stored for the whole world in the basements, and noble boutiques, jewelers and department stores for the fashion conscious follow one from the other. And finally the main station, whose first construction took place in 1847. In 1986, Erkel Park became a landscape park and recreation oasis in the north of the city. On 32 hectares of land, ponds and streams were created, and meadows, hedges and trees were planted. The park was intended to become a contrast to the modern buildings of the university and a recreation area for the densely populated surroundings. A plan that has met with great success. Not far away, A cable car travels from the Valley Station on University Street up to the Rigiblick mountain station on Zurichberg. The narrow gauge funicular had been in service since 1901 and is now used annually by around 600,000 passengers. Once at the top, a dreamlike view awaits. To the Zurich Bay of the lake and well beyond snow-covered mountain peaks. Deep below are the Grossmünster's double towers. The Flantern Cemetery is located on the Zurichberg, high above the city. In 1887, the community planned for it to be on a strict axial layout following a Baroque model. Many family graves have individual grave ornaments and elaborate artistic sculptures. The cemetery is also famous for a number of world-famous writers who have been buried here, such as James Joyce and Elias Canetti, as well as several Nobel Prize winners. Right next door is the Zurich Zoo, which presents the animals in their nature-like natural habitat. The elephants have a large outdoor area. The camels and dromedaries matching huts. And the zebras and monkeys have lots of space to play and climb. The pride of lions can be observed at close quarters, as well as seals at their daily swimming exercises and feeding. The Masoala Express travels to the rainforest of the same name. It's an extraordinary experience to walk through this subtropical jungle world. And to get to know exotic nature with each of the senses and to be observed by animals with little sign of fear. The Enga Quarter is located on the western shore of the lake. This is where the FIFA World Football Museum was inaugurated. 3,000 square meters of multimedia and interactive football experience. Exhibits of international football history are displayed here. Fans can immerse themselves in the gallery of the FIFA World Cup and be part of it. This is where international football becomes a conscious element that unites nations. Due to its elevated location, the Reformed Enga Church is a dominant building in this part of the city. The Sacré-Cœur of Switzerland is one of the most important neo-Renaissance churches in the country, whose interior has an impressive structure beneath a huge dome. Alfred Friedrich Bluntschli, a student of Gottfried Semper, designed the dominant architectural style of the 19th century. At the time the church was built, Belvoir Park was built below on the lakeside shore. Heinrich Escher wanted a spacious park for his classicist villa, which was built on a moraine hill. Exotic trees and extravagant flower beds make the complex, which has now been taken over by the city, particularly attractive. Due to its tranquil location, the Enger Quay looks rather swanky. Private boats are anchored here, and a stone lion marks a small harbour. The whole ambience looks like a Mediterranean holiday resort, where tourists stroll along the shores of a lake. An arboretum with large sunbathing lawns forms the last part of the shore in front of the city bay, with numerous shipping piers. It is the lake, through its location, that creates the special charm of the city. And the view of the water, boats and mountains in the background makes one forget all the normal hustle and bustle of daily life. A trip on one of the ships on Lake Zurich is simply a compliment to any visit to the city. The lake is 39 kilometers long, up to 4 kilometers wide, and 143 meters deep. The trip leads along the shore, past Wollishofen, Hilsberg and Rüschlicken to Talwil. Then we cross the lake and head for the opposite shore. During the last ice age, the Rhine-Linth glacier deepened an already existing valley basin. After the retreat of the ice, debris formed a moraine wall and dammed up the lake. The return trip leads past Küsnacht, one of the places on the so-called Gold Coast, where numerous millionaires with their expensive villas have settled. Also Zollikon is approached, and finally the Zurich Horn, where the shore area up to the city is quite crowded. Berkeley Square awaits us. A journey on a small Ferris wheel allows enchanting panoramic views of the bay and the large quay bridge over the confluence of the Limmat. A journey on the private Dolder Railway makes the ascent to the 701-metre-high Adlis Mountain a pleasure. There's a cog railway leading from Romerhof station up to the Grand Hotel Dolder. And from up here, there are superb views of Lake Zurich Bay. And from the terrace of the luxury hotel, the trees look like a forest. A more beautiful location of an hotel high above Zurich is hardly imaginable. The Seefeld district is located on the eastern shore of the lake. The university has created an English landscape garden here, an extension of the former park of Villa Schönau. Several glass tropical houses in the Botanical Garden contain various landscape areas. that become a real experience at any time of the year. There are tropical lowland rainforests, tropical dry areas, and typical mountain forests. Heinrich Zollinger, who once researched the healing properties of plants, is remembered everywhere. The eastern shore of the lake at Zurich is not far away. The China Garden was built here in 1993 behind a red wall. A gift from the South Chinese twin city of Kunming. It was donated as a thank you for the support in the construction of a drinking water supply. In the Water Palace, there's Chinese-style furniture and monumental paintings. And the garden shows a pond with an adumbrated mountain massif and a small island with a circular pavilion. In 1939, the park area at the Zurich was placed in the spotlight on the occasion of the National Exhibition. And in 1959, Japanese-inspired slab paths were created for a horticultural exhibition. Along the Uto Quay to the city, the estuary bay of the Limmat gets closer and closer. More and more boats lie at anchor, and the traffic rush is increasing. The lake promenade ends with the Opera House. It's one of the leading opera and ballet stages in Europe, built by Fellner and Helmer. Zurich West is the new face of the city. An alternative and creative scene has increasingly established itself in the industrial area. The boom resulted in some spectacular buildings by well-known architects, and the Jung Zurich began to establish itself in different places. Old industrial plants were demolished and replaced by modern high-rise buildings. The 126-metre-high Prime Tower was also built, the highest building in Switzerland on the site of a former engine factory. The Freitag brothers' container tower is particularly striking. 10 ship containers stacked one on top of the other with a panoramic terrace on the top. The two brothers had the idea to produce iconic bags of all kinds from old truck tarpaulins and to offer them to visitors from all over the world in this iconic environment. Back to the old town centre. You can take the shore path at the Upper Limmat. Here, the river flows quietly past the last industrial buildings. Until you finally see the first bridge at Central Station. The economic metropolis of Switzerland is the city of the reformer Zwingli, and the country's largest financial centre. The dynamic gateway to Switzerland, and a little big city that attracts 16 million tourists a year.